Hi there. My name is Beth Green, sometimes known as Granny Rocks,
And I'm James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
and tonight I'm going to talk about delighted, disappointed, denial. How do we feel when things work out better than we think they're going to? And I think you're going to see a familiar theme about what that depends on. And you're probably thinking, oh, well, it's so obvious. I'm delighted. Well, let's get honest. But before we get into that, I'm going to let Sweet Baby James introduce our show.
Welcome, everybody, to Granny Rocks.
Yeah, and I'm going to fix the camera. Yeah.
Where every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, we have the opportunity to hear Granny's wit, wisdom, and uncommon sense and spark our own thoughts and commentary. So now over to Granny.
Great. So we've got it running on, so we can see your comments now. If you want to comment, please do. Right now, we'll be able to see them, and we will be able to share with you live. So you may be thinking, oh, come on, this is so obvious. Now, Elizabeth says hi there, and she sends a heart. Hi there,
Hi.
Elizabeth. So we know that it's broadcasting. That's nice. And somebody is liking the topic already, which we love the fact that people like this topic. So, we all want to think that, oh, yes, of course, obviously, we would be grateful, but is that true? Now, let's say, I'm going to give you an example first before I really get into it. Let's say your daughter meets this guy and just know he's wrong for her. I mean, you know her better than anybody. He has no job. His family is terrible. He's too short. Whatever it is that's wrong with him. And you're certain that this relationship is not going to work out. And we have a good morning from Muhtar, who's probably on the other side of the world because it's good evening here. Well, good evening, Muhtar.
Good evening.
So glad to see you. So, okay, so now you've been talking about it, you've been telling all your friends what a terrible mistake she's making, right? And, you're blaming your husband for the fact that she's doing it. That's if you're a woman, or you're blaming your wife if it's the other, or if you're homosexuals, you're blaming your partner, whatever. Anyway, and lo and behold, the guy gets sober, right? He's been drunk for 50 years. Now he gets sober. And he starts some kind of a tech company, makes $1 million, and puts you, in a new home. So, I mean, things are wildly better than you could have imagined. Now, I mean, how often does that happen? But anyway, you get the idea. So what are you going to do? You've been bad-mouthing this guy the whole time, and you've been doing it with this attitude of superiority. And then, of course, that is the most important part, right? The attitude of superiority. So I knew that this is going to be, and so there you are with egg on your face. Now, you have to be gracious, right? Because especially if he's given you a house. This is my fantasy. We don't have, a situation like that. But anyway, so you say, oh, how wonderful. But inside, you're always looking to prove that you were right to start with. Mm-hmm. Most of us will do that because of our egos, right? Because our egos want to look smart. They want to look right. We don't want to be embarrassed. We fought our daughter tooth and nail. We disowned her. We did all this kind of stuff. And then we find out that we have created much ado about nothing. So we are going to be maybe looking for the chink in the armor. How is he really not that great of a guy, right? No? See what I'm saying? Or we may be outwardly smiling, but we have this little hesitation. So somebody will say, well, how is it going for your daughter? And George. And you say, well, it's fine so far. Oh, and I have food on my teeth. Lovely. Anyway, It's fine so far. But you want to make sure that there's something in there. You know what I mean, some seed of doubt. And Tracy says hello and sends a caring emoji, and we send one back to you. So now, with the same idea in mind that we have to be right, so if things work out really well, we're, kind of uncomfortable because we weren't right. Here's another thing we can do. We say, I always knew. Right? I always knew that deep down this was a good guy. Right? I mean, get honest, guys. Haven't you ever done this?
Yeah.
Blanca says hello, Beth and Jays. Hola, Blanca.
Hola.
More of our international contingent tonight. And she sent us a heart. Thank you already. So you see, it's really important to us to look right. So if we're wrong, we could be really trying to cover up or deny it or just put in a little seed of doubt and just have a we'll see attitude, not really coming right out and supporting it. So another thing that might happen to us is we might just feel plain embarrassed that we were so wrong. So wrong. Then we are tortured by never-ending self-examination. How could I have been so wrong about him? And but most people will not acknowledge that openly. Some will. Some will talk to their friends and say, I was really wrong about this guy. And then their friends will probably try to protect them. They say, well, how would you know? Naturally you felt that way about him. He was drunk for 50 years, and she met him in prison, in a prison project, right? So, then your friends might try to salvage your ego for you because that's what friends are for. They're trying to make you feel better when they shouldn't. They should just be honest. But no, we can't do that. So then we can cover up by acting really grateful. Well, I'm so glad it worked out. Really, I'm so grateful that my child is, but inside there is this thing gnawing at us because we have these stupid egos that tell us that we have to be right. See, wouldn't it have been better if we hadn't had so many opinions to start with? Then we wouldn't have to be so embarrassed, right? So, one of the things that is so embarrassing is that very often what it is just plain prejudice. We were prejudiced against the guy because he was gay. And we didn't think that a gay man could be a good husband. I mean, maybe not. But anyway, or we're prejudiced because he's of a different race from our daughter, or because he's from a different educational level, or we didn't really take the time to know him, or because our spouse, our partner, was prejudiced against him. And it can just expose our prejudice incredibly, right? Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't like to be exposed as prejudiced, do we? So the real question may be, why did we think that to start with? Why did we make the assumption that the guy was a no-goodnik, as we would have said in Yiddish? And maybe it's truly a miracle. I mean, miracles can happen. So saving face is a really important part of how we deal with things turning out better than we think. Now, I want you to be thinking right now about some situation which has turned out better than you think, and what was your reaction? Now, I want you to get really honest and put it in the chat, and let's put this out there. I want to give you an example of how things have turned out better for us than we expected. We moved into a city, a relatively small city, but a city nevertheless. And we left the river
And the woods.
and the forest and the mountain and all of that. And I was sure that I was just going to die. And there was a reason for that. And see, this is part of it. There was a time when I left. I've been living in the country and by the river. Oh, and Catalina is sending us loves and applause, and I love that. Back to you. Yeah. Yeah. So I was sure it was going to be a disaster because it had been a disaster before. So prejudice can
With a different place and a different
with a
time.
different place.
A couple of years ago.
Yes, and a different situation. But I had fled into the forest, into the river, to the river because I felt better there. And I wasn't sure that anything had changed. But actually, this was a whole different situation. And so I'm really grateful, but I was pretty terrified and I was crying all the time and all that. Well, I want to tell you that I love it here. We have trees.
We have forests.
We have forests. We're in the city, and we have stores near us. And I want to tell you, this is very cool. And so I'm going to give you an example of Sweet Baby James. First, about 2 weeks ago, he injured his back, and then he got shingles, which is a very painful illness. And because we were in town, we were able to get to a doctor. First, he went to his physical therapist who said, I think you have shingles, and you better get to a doctor. And he did.
Right away.
Right away. And because we were in town, we were able to get him in right away, and he started taking medication. And in theory, this is going to save him months of agony.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's supposed to get better. So, oh my God.
Yeah, if you get the medical help within 72 hours, it's a whole different ballgame. You can recover relatively quickly, which is what happened for me.
Right.
Had we been living in the country like we had before, that could not have happened.
It would not. It would not have happened. So the miracle has already occurred. And not only has the miracle occurred, but we love it here. We love our home. We love, it's just that the universe has put us in a good place. And yes, there have been a lot of obstacles and problems and expenses, need I tell you. Chair lifts and God knows what, and electricians and all that. But it's working, and I feel really, really happy. And I'm so relieved that, that we have the wherewithal to take care of ourselves that we have not had. Tracy,
I'd like to bring up something here.
Okay, let me
Go
just.
ahead. Finish
We
your
have
point.
we have a viewer. She said, "So great to hear about the miracles."
Thank you,
are
Tracy.
so right.
Thank
Yes.
you, Tracy.
Take it away, James.
Well, there's also another D besides the three that you listed. That's
yes.
deservingness.
Ooh.
It's like I had seen this place listed on the internet, and I thought, oh my God, that's beyond us. And now that we have it, I have to think, gee, do I deserve this? This doesn't fit my pictures from my past. So it's a struggle to kind of get to feeling, yeah, I deserve this. This is right, etc., etc. But there's that. And another part of it that happens for me in other situations is something happens better than I expected, like getting a job, for example. Straight out of law school, I got a pretty high-level job with the federal government. I thought, oh my God, that's incredible. And yet, now the bar was raised, and I had to really watch my P's and Q's. So there was the pressure, there was the anxiety that went
to
with
live
something.
up to it.
To live up to it, yeah, yeah. So there we are.
Well, yeah, we have to live up to this house too. We've got to get a gardener.
Oh
We've
yeah,
got to get it
that's
clean.
true. We've got to get our house in order.
Right, and of course we haven't been able to because baby James has been disabled, and I'm anyway disabled. So I want you to be looking. Elizabeth said when we first moved to this area, we were dead set against living in a certain region. Well, we actually are living in this certain region, and we love it. I love that, Elizabeth. So, how did you react to that? Have you just embraced that? Did you embrace it right away?
Yeah, how did you feel about being wrong?
Right, right, right. You know, so much of this depends on our egos and our egoic need to be right. Don't you think?
Yeah.
And we have to be open, of course, to the possibility that things are not going to work out. But we just have to be open, period, and let things evolve and not pick on things. Because, see, another thing that we can do in order to prove that we were right all along is we can start looking for that little nitpicky thing.
Oh.
You know, yes, but.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but. And we have a lot of accommodations. We've got to train the dogs. That's more money, right? So that they don't bark at everything because they're not used to being in the city. They're used to being in the country. But I can feel my heart is singing that the universe is taking care of us. I'd love to hear from more of you about how you relate to this. Oh, it took a bit, says Elizabeth. We came here because we couldn't afford to buy where we wanted. I don't know when I embraced it, though I do now. Embrace it now. That is such an important point. See, that's another really crucial thing. One of the things that we do is we pretend that we just had to do it. Like we had to move to the city because things were so difficult for us out in the boondocks. It was taking over an hour to get to anything. And we had nothing but power outages. So now, of course, everybody has power outages. We thought we were escaping the power outage. So, yeah, so we would do that. I love what you said, Elizabeth. We try to pretend that this was something that we just had to do, but it wasn't our choice. It certainly wasn't anything that we would embrace. So your point is really well taken.
We had a very similar experience with the city here. We gave it short shrift at first. We were looking to the west, we were looking to the north, and we kept leapfrogging over this place, this city. And then finally we came to realize this city meets our needs better than any of those other places.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so embarrassing.
So I felt a little embarrassed about that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were putting it down. We were putting it down. Let's not do that. I love the word that Tracy said. Miracle. Sometimes the universe throws us what we call in America a Mickey, right? Which is bad news, right?
The opposite of a miracle.
The opposite. But sometimes the universe throws us a Mickey, a miracle. And if we just relax, accept the miracle, we can be happy. It's always a good idea to look at the miracle in everything. There may be something there that we didn't expect. Let's say the husband that we didn't approve of because he didn't make money turns out to be the greatest father because he wasn't meant to make money. We don't have to criticize him for that. We can appreciate what he has, or maybe he really loves our daughter or our son. And our grandchild or our daughter or son is finally receiving something they want. Because after all, sometimes we are just plain wrong. about what other people need as well as what we need. Amy says, when something works out better than I was expecting, I am so often caught by surprise, and the negative chatter I had in my head all of a sudden becomes silent. That is just lovely. We want more of that. More silence, less chatter. Anyone else want to share their experience about how we feel? Remember, it's not about how we look. It's not about our egos. It's not about looking smart. It's living in the moment by moment, being grateful for what we have, being grateful to the universe, and being open to something new. We may think we need something, not just that someone else needs something. We may think we need something that we don't need, and the time has come to move on. So, a little faith can go a long way. A little humility can go a long way as well. Does anyone else? Oh, Tracy says, a miracle. Despite health challenges lately, it is a miracle I haven't had brain fog or worse symptoms, and I have been doing really
well
at work. I think I haven't totally accepted my achievements and habitually write them off. Yes, well, that would be your pattern anyway, to write off your achievements, especially when you don't expect them to be good. Faith, positivity, well at work, yes. Faith, positivity, hope, optimism, support for ourselves and others. These are ways that we can overcome the egoic need to be right, to relax into life, to relax into what the universe gives us.
You have a phrase that you like to use. I welcome the beneficial energies that are meant for me.
That's right.
That's a nice attitude to bring to bear in whatever comes.
So I would like to invite you to think about this topic deeper, and even ask yourself, why is it so important for me to prove that I was right all along, or that I'm right now, or any of that? Why do we need to be right anyway? It's such a shame that so much of our energy is tied up in trying to convince ourselves and others how right we are.
So often being right gets in the way of being happy.
Absolutely. So, think about that. Go deep. And be grateful. I am grateful. I'm grateful for now. If a tree falls on our house, I guess we'll have to look at that. But right now, we're having a lot of challenges, but the tree hasn't fallen on our house. And nobody has come in and robbed us or raped us or done any of those things. And we're so happy and grateful that we have been brought to a place that meets the needs we have now. So right now we are going to go to our program, Seeing Through New Glasses, which is a video conference that I lead every Wednesday night after the show at 7 o'clock. And those of us who are part of that program, that conference call, will talk about this and get deeper into ourselves, because there's always something deeper to expose. So in the meantime, do come back next week. Wednesday night, Granny Rocks, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And also come back tomorrow, which is Thursday, for the piano music, which also is wonderful. We have found a place where actually the piano works and it's tuned, by the way. And Jim said, thank you, Beth and Jane. I love listening to your wisdom and positive thoughts. Thank you. He sends a heart.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. We hope to see you tomorrow as we play Dreams of Peace and try to help build the positive energy on the planet. Until then.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.